Hey guys, so I know the internet is usually a really critical place, especially when it comes to women, especially if it comes to women over 25. But I just hopped on here to ask, how old do I look? And I won't get mad if you say that I look 40 years old and make 10 more videos trying to prove that I don't look 40 years old, I promise. Recently, I've been seeing a lot of videos of people turning to the internet to ask how old they look.
I'm not 36. Do I look 36?
Alright, how old do I look?
In my opinion, you ask this question for one of two reasons. The first, because you really want attention, even if it's horrible attention and is probably gonna hurt your feelings. And the other reason is because you want people to tell you that you look young. I've been seeing this trend pop up a lot on TikTok. It's usually women asking the question, but overall, people are just becoming more and more concerned over how young they look and wanting to maintain their youth and beautiful appearance. It's not a new idea that people want to prevent aging, but with it becoming more of a trend online, I feel like we've been seeing swarms of people trying to find anything that can help them anti-age. Whether that be skincare, Botox, or like weird gummies that you can buy on TikTok shop for some reason. But this push towards looking younger has led to a lot of people feeling very insecure about themselves and also a lot of people being very critical of other people. I feel like there's a combination of reasons that people have been driven to feel this way, as well as a lot of side effects for the anti-aging phenomenon, so I want to talk about some of those reasons today. Looking young is a status symbol. Youth and looking youthful can be sought after for many reasons. While this idea has been prevalent throughout history, in this day and age, looking young means you have the time, energy, and money to invest in workouts, skincare, having a good diet, and even cosmetic surgeries. I feel like it's not as desirable to be 18 again and act 18 again, but more so just to look like you're 18 again. Obviously, a lot of this just ties into having wealth in general, but I feel like I've noticed it mostly when it comes to influencers and celebrities perpetuating this idea that you have to maintain your youth. On platforms like TikTok, Instagram, the ones that you look at people with Instagram face on, which we'll get to later. In my last video, I talked about celebrity brands and how I feel like they prey on the parasocial relationship that people have with these celebrities, and I still think that's true, but I think it's slightly different in the way that it pertains to wealth correlating with youth. We all know that celebrities and influencers are big into getting plastic surgery or cosmetic treatments and then pretending like no they did not, and that it's just their great skincare regimen that keeps them looking so young, which might be true in some cases, but also anyways, this facade of these influencers and celebrities using their products to make their skin look gorgeous is just another way for them to push products, promising your skin will look just as good as theirs if you use their serums, face wash, moisturizers, and the whole package. And don't worry, this great skincare routine will only cost you $300. But in reality, your skin will most likely never look like theirs, because usually they're actually receiving the top-notch skin treatments and also top-notch products that make their skin look so good. And the average person can't even come close to affording these products or treatments. And I think this promise is beginning to warp people's perception on what they should look like and what other people should look like, because we see these rich celebrities and influencers looking so young and healthy, so we begin to equate this wealth that's required with thinking that's the only way that you can achieve that look, and we want to be like them. So why would we not buy their expensive skincare line in hopes of looking like them, because that's what they say they use?
I'm literally obsessed with our exfoliator.
So the more people buy their products or the products that they're affiliated with, and they get more money so they can buy more expensive treatments and skincare, and then the cycle just keeps perpetuating. Where I take the most issue with this is I feel like it's a promise built on a lie. That promise being that you can be like them if you buy their product, when that's just not true. It's also hard because even if you don't necessarily buy into the fact that you can use these celebrity products to look youthful, you still typically have the understanding that these wealthy people use their wealth to achieve their great skin, youthful look, persona in general. And it puts the pressure on us to want to emulate that even when we don't have to. Celebrity skincare lines in general just kind of confuse me, because I can understand selling makeup because it's like, oh yeah, they're a celebrity, they do photo shoots and like they wear makeup a lot, like they probably know what the good stuff is. But with skincare, it's like, what the hell does Millie Bobby Brown know about making a skincare line? Does she know chemistry? Does she understand the chemicals that are going into it? That's a joke. Let Millie Bobby Brown, and I understand that most of the time the skincare with the celebrities, they're just like slapping their face on it and like maybe approving of the packaging and like that's about it, but it still just trips me out when I see someone making a skincare line. It's like, I feel like you have to know some things about the actual chemicals to do that. Clearly you don't. I feel like most people buy these brands because they just want to get closer to the celebrity or emulate them more, and purely just buy these products for the name that's attached with it, which just doesn't make sense to me when it comes to skincare, because it's like, if you're trying to find something that will really help you, maybe even help acne, things like that, I feel like you need something that is like doctor recommended or like really works with your skin, which in my opinion probably won't happen if you're buying something that someone's selling sort of as a cash grab. That's just my opinion. There probably are some skincare lines that are useful or whatever you would call that, but it just feels a little off to me. Shifting gears a little bit here, I feel like using skincare as a status symbol is being perpetuated by one of the most influential groups of the world, and that is teen girls. Every generation and every age group has its thing that people buy to essentially show off to the world how much money they have. Sometimes it's a pair of shoes, sometimes it's the newest phone, but this generation of young girls have their collection of skincare products to show off how much money their parents make. And like I said, every generation does this. It's not a new phenomenon, but I do think it's kind of interesting that it's skincare for some reason. Being an adult, I'm not super involved into what the teens are like into right now and think is like the cool it product to have, but I feel like even myself, I've felt the influence that these younger girls have had on the industry, the skincare industry as a whole, and I think these groups have a lot of influence on even the type of content that we're watching, like more than you think. A lot of the most popular influencers and celebrities, at least the ones that I see a lot, have a very strong following of high school aged young adult girls and women. If these teens are into skincare, then their favorite influencer is also going to be pushing skincare content, and they'll keep making that content until their audience gets bored. Which I don't know if we've seen that yet. I feel like skincare content is still really big right now. And because these influencers are watched by a large audience, not just the teenage girls, this older audience might be influenced to buy these products that are being pushed because they can actually use them as intended.
Okay, so Alex Earl's dermatologist just put us on the skincare routine for oily and sensitive skin, and obviously I had to try it out.
And I'm not saying that teenage girls are causing this whole entire problem, because I don't think they are, but I think that they have a hand in what is popular right now, and that is skincare. And because a lot of teens and young adults already have pretty good skin, typically a lot of these people are just buying the products for the name and like the social clout of it all, which I think perpetuates the idea that if you have this stuff, that means you're wealthy, because that skincare costs a lot of money. To tie this idea into my initial question, which was why the hell are people going online and asking the internet how old they look, we all know that high school aged people and young people can be particularly ruthless, especially online. And I feel like when you see a video of people asking the question how old they look, typically the comments are filled with a lot of people age like 14 to 18, and these people age 14 to 18 for some reason can't really comprehend what someone's supposed to actually look like when they're like 27. And then these people that are asking this question begin to feel super insecure about themselves because they think everyone's thinking that they look so old when in reality they just look normal. And I'm not trying to call out or bully young girls because they have enough on their plate already, don't get me wrong, but I just wanted to point out where I think this skincare craze is coming from. Overall, in my opinion, skincare has just become a way to show off the expensive products that you can afford, and in general showing off that you have excess wealth to prioritize anti-aging over other things. I don't think it's bad to care about your skin, obviously. Your biggest organ on your body, but I don't know, because organ. Either way, it's important to care about it. But I feel like people have been taking this routine used to improve your health and well-being and have turned it into a way to feel superior to other people. Sometimes feeling so superior that you feel the need to leave a comment on someone who's 20 years old saying that they look 45. Kind of just one of those problems that didn't really need to exist. Obviously, people for generations and generations have been concerned about wrinkles, but as long as you wear your sunscreen and you have a general face wash routine, I think you will be fine and you will look as you are supposed to. Recently, we've been seeing a lot of consequences of the Instagram face. You might be thinking, what the fuck is Instagram face? Or you already know. But if you don't know, I found this definition and I feel like it was pretty spot on. This increasingly popular term refers to a highly stylized, almost plastic looking aesthetic that has become the new standard on social media platforms like Instagram. It's a face that's symmetrical, smooth, and often enhanced in ways that are hard to distinguish from reality. Now, if you still aren't understanding what Instagram face is, just take a look at this picture here. Alright, now you get it. The Instagram face is a new phenomenon, and in recent years we've been beginning to see this shift in preference. I'm not sure if that's exactly the right word, but I'm gonna go with preference, in what we consider the ideal beauty standard. While plastic surgery and fillers have been around for a long time, I feel like it hasn't been used in the same way it's being used now. And in before the early 2000s, the hottest women of the time looked just different than they look now. While the women at the time were and still are extremely beautiful, often unattainably beautiful, they still usually looked like regular people, some with imperfect teeth, unsymmetrical faces, and in general unique features, at least in comparison to what we see today. Now it seems like the beauty standard actually relies on unrealistic features that can only be achieved through surgeries or Facetune, which means that these people that we see as the beauty standard don't even actually look like the beauty standard themselves. I saw a great video the other day by the creator Christine Adain, where she talks about how now our bodies are being shaped by our algorithms. And I want to put in a quote that she said that stuck out to me.
If you're surgically altering your offline self to match your online self, you've become an aesthetic operating system.
I really loved her whole video and reflecting on the idea that we are no longer seeing ourselves as our physical body, but rather our online persona, which is a part of how we got to Instagram face being a common beauty standard nowadays. In the past, there's always been a comparison game of who can be more beautiful? What can make you more beautiful? Am I more beautiful than her? Am I more beautiful than him? And wanting to shape ourselves to fit in with other people. But now our desire to fit in and look a certain way is being artificially inflated, especially with the rise of AI. AI is becoming more and more undetectable in our algorithms. And if it hasn't yet, then it's going to change what we know as the beauty standard. Think of when you're scrolling on Pinterest and you see a really cool room and you're like, oh, I love that room. I want my room to look like that. So you pin it. But then when you go back to it, you might notice that, oh, it's AI. That room literally doesn't exist and it never will. Now, if you wouldn't have noticed it was AI and you used that picture as inspo, you would have been striving to make your room look like something that literally doesn't exist. And if we apply that same scenario with AI women that we see online, which sounds like a crazy thing to say, but there literally are AI creators. Right now, luckily, we can still usually tell when they're AI, but it looks like we're gonna hit a point where we might not know if these creators are actually real people, and that is absolutely detrimental to the beauty standard. Obviously, it's detrimental to a lot of other things. We're talking about this right now, so we're going to focus on that. Right now, I haven't seen too much of AI being intermixed with fashion and beauty, like lifestyle content. And we've already seen how it's possible for people to be tricked and influenced by AI without even realizing it. I'm kind of struggling to figure out exactly like if this point is making sense, but my point essentially is like our beauty standards are already tied to our algorithms, and sooner or later we're going to be influenced by things that are so unrealistic they literally aren't even real, because this will just put more pressure on regular real life women to match these AI beings. So how does this tie into my main point, which is stop asking people on the internet how old you look? Online, we're accustomed to seeing people being filtered or looking their best self literally every time they post. So asking this question where you're just a normal person leads to an unfair comparison when you're giving it to the internet crowd, and this audience that you're asking this question to you just 3 scrolls ago saw a heavily filtered, face-tuned Instagram baddie. And again, people online have a warped perception of what it means to look old. For example, we see Christina Aguilera, who is, I think, 45. She doesn't look a day over 25 because of her Instagram face and whatever else she's had done. Like, she's always been beautiful. I'm not saying that she's not always been beautiful, but if you're like, oh yeah, Christina Aguilera, she's 45, and then you turn and you see a regular 45-year-old, you'll be like, ugh, you look so old. Where it's like, no, Christina Aguilera is the one who's like the odd one out here, not the regular 45-year-old. So if you're used to just seeing people online who look so much younger than they actually are, it's a big shock when someone actually looks their age. Where if you were to ask this question in person, I'm not saying that you should ask this question in person because I think it's just a stupid question in general, but first of all, if you present this question in reality, no one really cares. No one really cares how old you look. And then also, if you ask them, they're probably just going to tell you the age that you actually are, give or take 5 years. And looking that way is perfectly fine. I think this pressure to look younger than your age is something that really only exists online. In general, the Instagramification of people's faces is just another way that social media has begun to infiltrate our lives. And this pressure to have the Instagram face is just erasing parts of our identity that make us unique. To give you a direct comparison of how plastic surgery has changed in the past 10 to 20 years, I want to talk about the clip of Heidi Montag after she got all of her plastic surgery done in the early 2000s, and her family was scared of her. Granted, she got all of her plastic surgery done at like one time, so that's why it was more of a dramatic face reveal. But this type of cosmetic surgery wasn't as common only 10 years ago.
It sounds to me like you want to look like Barbie.
I do want to look like Barbie.
Why would you want to look like Barbie?
What's the craziest thing about this video is when it's posted on TikTok or YouTube and people in the comments that are commenting like this day and age, they're like, yeah, she just looks normal, which she really does. And just so crazy to think that people in 2010 were shocked by her face and now that's just the regular look. And I think people commenting that just proves that Instagram face is a real thing and that it's very normalized on social media and in society today. In my mind, Instagram face is just a snowball of everything that's happened in the last 20 years when it comes to beauty and like social media. And like, I don't know when the snowball is gonna stop getting bigger, but I guess that's just something we'll have to wait and see about. Now, since we're talking about Instagram face, I want to segue into plastic surgery, which is usually a part of achieving said Instagram face. Being online, it feels like everybody is getting plastic surgery or a cosmetic procedure nowadays, and that no one is really looking like themselves anymore. But I feel like that is just not correct. In my opinion, cosmetic surgery, plastic surgery havers are a small but loud minority. Yes, you might watch a lot of influencers that have received plastic surgery, giving you the illusion that everyone has it. But what about literally everyone else in the world? Obviously, this varies depending on where you live and your circumstances, because obviously we've seen a lot of influencers in LA talk about everyone has plastic surgery, so like they're in their own bubble. But I think the rest of the world, you might know one person who's had a cosmetic procedure, like if that. And then usually it's just like a lip flip or like getting their lips plumped up. But in general, I just don't think it's as common as people think. Now that we're talking about plastic surgery, how do we even begin to unpack if it's good or bad, or if it's just a part of our reality nowadays? I feel conflicted about my beliefs when it comes to plastic surgery. My instinctual response when seeing someone get it is I usually feel that it's unnecessary, and that women, because it's usually women, are just playing into this idea that they have to look perfect to be beautiful. And the more people that do it just further pushes the idea that you have to have these procedures done to look good. However, I know that there's more factors that go into someone deciding to get work done than just the surface level ones. A common procedure is someone getting their nose done because they don't like their nose. So they get a nose job under the assumption that if they make their nose smaller, then people are gonna like them more and think that they're more beautiful. And in general, just treat them better. But the fucked up thing is that people do get treated better after they get procedures done because they find them conventionally attractive. It's like losing weight. In an ideal world, your weight shouldn't determine how people treat you. But because of how our society operates, it does affect how people treat you. We sadly don't have much control over how people treat us in our daily lives. So it makes sense that if we have the chance to improve our lives by becoming more conventionally attractive, we do. Plastic surgery can be used for more than just wanting to be pretty. It can drastically improve someone's safety and quality of life. And because of this, I feel like it's hypocritical to pick and choose when I think people should or shouldn't get plastic surgery or who deserves to get plastic surgery. For example, gender-affirming surgery for trans people can also be considered plastic surgery, or prosthetic surgery for people who have experienced trauma that is also considered plastic surgery. While those examples I would say are more life-saving medical procedures, and I don't necessarily want to take away the importance of them compared to just general cosmetic surgery, but I do think it's important to consider the scope of what plastic surgery can mean for someone aside from just the Instagram baddies. While I do think in general a lot of people go into getting plastic surgery with the hopes that it will just generally improve their life, there also seems to be a lot of people that go into getting surgery done with the goal of just having optimal Instagram face, which I have more issue with. And because a lot of people are getting these surgeries done, it's hard to ignore the common feeling that it's, why does everyone look the same nowadays? It's also kind of ironic that people are going in to get these surgeries done with the hopes of looking younger and hotter. However, because you're making your face fit into a trend essentially, that being Instagram face, you're effectively dating yourself. Like when you see someone wearing a Thrasher hoodie, like it's still fine to wear a Thrasher hoodie and some people like it, but also a lot of people that look at that will think that it's out of style in many ways. With a Thrasher hoodie, you can just take the hoodie off, but when it's a procedure done on your face, you can't really change it as easily when a year or two goes by and that's no longer the look that people are trying to achieve anymore. I think this is a part of the reason why people think Kylie Jenner looks so old. Obviously, a part of it is because she's had her fillers for so long that it's starting to migrate, but also her face is just a time capsule of like 2019. Like that was exactly what people wanted to look like in 2019. 2025, it's starting to shift. And I think also this is why we see this conversation online a lot, where you see someone with a lot of filler and you think that they're older than you are, actually, for some reason. Because in the past, typically if you got filler, it was because you were 30 or something and you wanted to look younger. But now younger people are getting filler, so essentially they're just looking like a 30-year-old who wants to look younger instead of looking younger in itself, if that makes sense. And Kylie Jenner just like fits right into that. I don't necessarily feel bad for her because she played a big part in creating this beauty standard that we see today, one that is very unrealistic. But I do feel bad seeing her trying to undo the work that she had done when she was like, what, 20 years old? Because she was just way too young to be having that much work done on her face. Like, it does make me sad that she'll genuinely never get to know what she would look like at age 21 to 25. You know, she'll never know what her face really looks like as she's aged into herself because she got it worked on before she had a chance to grow into it. So I can't entirely fault her because she was so young, but also like she was still a grown adult, I mean, for most of her procedures. But with this change, I'm just hoping that she can start to shift the narrative on how we view plastic surgery in society, because it's a very important decision to make. You are literally altering your face. And I think it's important that you should be doing work that will complement your face and your body rather than entirely changing it. The biggest question I have with people who go online to ask the internet, how old do I look, is why do people care so much? Now, I think people turning to the internet to get validation over how old they look is just a side effect of how we've been way too open with our lives on social media nowadays, and how it's normal to just overshare on the internet. Am I guilty of probably sharing my life too much on the internet? Yes, but I think there's a difference between sharing what you do in the day and turning to a faceless mob to ask advice for problems that you have in your personal life that you should probably just be asking your friend or your family. It's weird because I feel bad for people who turn to the general online public to ask questions about their personal lives, because typically it means that they don't really have anyone that they can talk to in their real life. There's also a lot of people whose main goal with oversharing is just to get attention online, to get likes, clicks, follows, to have people be mad at them. So people hopping on TikTok to ask people how old they look feels the same to me as like the Reddit "Am I the Asshole" pages. Because while there are "Am I the Asshole" posts that are very genuine and it's someone just reaching out for help, there's also a lot of "Am I the Asshole" posts that are just pure rage bait, or someone just really wants to tell a story or something. I don't really exactly know how all that works. Also, quick side tangent right here right now. People that do like story times but they're just reading Reddit posts piss me off so bad.
My friend and her husband are homeless and I told her that they can't stay with me.
It's like someone will be doing their makeup and they'll be reading this story and they're acting like it's their own story. Like they're not making it clear that it's a Reddit post. So it's just like a weird way to engagement farm. Like pretending that this crazy thing that happened to you when it didn't happen to you. And no one in the comments ever seems to pick up on the fact that this is not their story, even if you go to their page and every single thing that they talk about online is just some story that like there's no way this many things happen to a singular person. Like people, let's go check the page real quick. I don't know, maybe it just pisses me off because it feels like the laziest type of content that you can make. Like if you're doing TikToks like that, you are barely better than the people that do like Subway Surfers with the AI voice text reading off Reddit stories. Like you're just barely above them in my opinion. Anyways, going back to my main point, going online to ask people how old you look, maybe with the hopes of getting people's opinions on how you can look younger, just makes me sad. First of all, because you're really just setting yourself up to get bullied. And in a selfish way, when I see videos of people asking how old they look and people are really dragging them, it does selfishly make me feel a little insecure. Because I'll see a cute girl who looks about my age, then everyone in the comments is telling her that she needs to go pick out her coffin. Then I see her and I'm like, I don't think she looks that old. Like that's probably how old I look. Because I don't think there's anything wrong with looking older than you are, aside from the fact that we're conditioned, especially as women, to think that once we get older our lives are basically meaningless and that being old should be thought of in a negative way. No one's gonna want you anymore if you have some wrinkles on your face. So it makes older women feel more insecure and more vulnerable for other people and companies to exploit them essentially. But in reality, if you look older than you are, who really cares? Like you could die tomorrow and that's how old you're gonna look forever. So being so concerned about looking older than you do shouldn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Which brings me to my second point, which is that getting older and being visibly older is a gift. And in general, I feel like there just shouldn't be so much pressure on looking young. And maybe this is some advice, but if you're scared of not being youthful anymore, feeling less youthful, there's a lot of ways that you can look younger without having to do anything to your face or pay a lot of money. In my opinion, a lot of people that look older in these videos videos, typically it's not even their face that's making them look older. It's just like the clothes they're wearing and how they have their hair done. Like, no shit gonna think you're 35 if you're dressed like a millennial fresh out of 2012. And if you want to fit into the trends and look younger, there's a lot of ways to do it. Buying and wearing certain clothes, seeking out art that might be what's popular with the younger generation, listening to music that's popular with the younger generation. Take the pressure off of yourself. You don't need to look young to still be cool. I guess my conclusion with this video is just stop asking the internet how old you look. You're not gonna like the answer, and you're gonna make yourself feel bad, and you're gonna make everyone else feel bad as well. Aging is a gift, and you can only outrun it for so long. And the more that you try to prevent it, the worse you're gonna feel about yourself when it inevitably happens. So if you begin to accept it, then you can focus on the other things that bring you joy in life. Also, to wrap up the video, I can't tell you what to do with your life. If you want to get plastic surgery, go ahead. I do not think anyone is a bad person for getting plastic surgery or trying to fit into the societal standards that you have to look young to be desirable and to be worthy. At this point, the anti-aging agenda is just a part of our lives. And I just hope that my main takeaway that people get from this video is that aging is a gift. You are beautiful, and just really consider what you want to do with your face before you decide to permanently change it. Bye.